In this episode, I'm going to make the case for why running and functional training are key aspects to the betterment of your life. Welcome back to the Chasing a Greater Vision podcast. I'm your host, Rickey Jasper. Today's topic and episode is I'm going to make the case for why running and functional training are key and vital things that you should add at least 4 days a week to your life to better your life. Now, why am I talking about that? It's because you've probably seen a bunch of content, and even I start putting out vlogs where it's running, it's functional training. You start to see that as almost like the new fitfluencer type of thing. There's so many people now adopting running, they're adopting functional training, and it's becoming this trend, just like other things become trend, but it almost seems like this is something that is very applicable to life and to the betterment and sustainment of life. Unlike, I would say, in the past, I did bodybuilding. I think that that's great, but it has a bit of a shelf life. So if you are not doing any sort of running, functional training, any sort of activity, then watch this video. Hopefully I convince you to. Or if you've just started this and you're in the corporate world like me and you're like, oh, I just want something to validate what I'm doing, then again, watch this video as well. So the enemy I see in this is like shying away from something that's hard and that's challenging. It's why I took a while to really get into some sort of functional training. It was very easy for me to go in the gym and, lift some weights and walk on the treadmill or walk on the Stairmaster after. Those things were easier. Waking up in the morning, getting outside on a run on a warmer day or on a colder day was a little bit tougher. Doing functional training that allowed me to use my entire body really took a lot more out of me, and especially how I structured the workouts. And so I shied away from that because I was like, why do I want to add more of this other thing on to my day if my day is already packed and stressful and whatever? But I realized that over time and over the past year and a half, I have learned so much. I've actually become a better person because I've applied some of the principles that I use daily when I run, when I do functional training. So the first thing is it strengthens your I'll do it muscle. Now, what does that mean? That's like when things happen or things come your way and they're your responsibility, but you don't want to do it. You just naturally learn to be like, I'll do it. Now, where is this very applicable to me? So if you are on my Momentum Monday email Monday broadcast thing, you'll have seen this email. But I talked about, this is probably 2 Mondays ago or 3 Mondays, whenever you see this, it's a few Mondays ago, but I talked about doing 400 and 800 meter repeats. Those days I typically dread because those are the days where I'm like, I know I'm just going to be dying. I'm going to wake up in the morning. It's going to be 75, 80 degrees. I'm going to have a 5-10 minute warm-up jog, and then I'm going to run, 8 to 10 400 meter runs, or I'm going to run, 6, 7, 8, 800 meter runs, right? And so I know that that's going to be a tough day because I'm going to be running faster. But what happens is after about the first two, let's use 400, and let's say I have, 8 400 meter runs. After the first two, I'm like, well, I have about a minute and a half to a 3 minute rest. My mind just goes to, hey, when that rest time ticks down, I'll do it. I'll do the next one. And it's a very tough thing because my body's like, I don't want to do this. Like, why do I want to make myself so much more time? I know what this, minute in 20 seconds of a 400 meter run is going to make me feel like. I don't want to do it, but then I do it anyway. So what happens is you do that repetitively. You do the tough workouts repetitively. Then when you get into, for me, my day-to-day and a meeting pops up later in the afternoon, have some deliverables, and it's before, family time, but I'm like, usually I'm kind of like, okay, I'm ready to check out. It's like, cool, I'll do it, right? I'll take that responsibility on, I'll do it. So it helps strengthen your I'll do it muscle. And that's a great thing. And that's just not for work. Like there's things when it comes to, now marriage and building a life together. And there's responsibilities that we have that are like, okay, they're not selfish for either of us. Like we're doing things for the betterment of our future family and everything. And it's like, well, we don't necessarily want to do it because we would rather sit back and be comfortable, but we're just so accustomed to being like, hey, we'll do it, because I personally think that one of the big proponents is it stems from, every morning doing something hard that sometimes, let's say half the week, don't really want to do, right? Excited to get out and move my body, but I'm like, the hell that's about to ensue is going to be tough, and I'm not going to feel it. I'm not going to feel like doing it, but I'll do it, right? So it'll strengthen your I'll do it muscle. Number 2, it reduces your stress. Now, in these workouts, they're tough, and it ranges depending on how tough you want your workouts to be. But I realize in my toughest workouts, I have to be the most present, because if my mind is elsewhere, then I actually get stressed out, because I'm like, oh, I have this thing to do over here, this thing to do over here, and then I'm doing this tough thing. So what happens is, for me, I can be, when I'm fully present, I'm able to just, my stress is reduced. I'm like, I just have to focus on this one thing. It's hard to the point where I'm like, I just have to focus on this one thing. I remember when I used to like walk on the treadmill for my cardio. I think that's great, but I would walk on the treadmill, I'd be listening to a podcast, and I'd be scrolling Instagram. So I'd be doing 3 things, and I wasn't ever, and I'd be answering emails, replying to texts, reading gossip, whatever it is. And I realized like, oh, I'm still so wrapped up in everything else. I'm not present. When you do something hard, you become fully present, and that reduces your stress. It increases your endorphins. And also, I love doing this in the mornings, because once you get it done, it's out of the way. I do my speed repeats on Thursdays, and I get out there, and the night before, as of late, I've been very excited to do them. But I'll get out there and I'm like, hey, in an hour, I not only will be done with this, I'll feel like I've accomplished something, and the rest of my day, I'm going to feel amazing, and it's going to set the tone for my entire weekend, because now I'm hyped because I did something that was tough, right? And it just reduces, like, it just takes away all the stress of the day. And I know if you're watching this, we're filming this on a Friday. Yesterday, on the Thursday, I had a stressful day. It was a lot of things that were coming at me, but it didn't feel nearly as stressful, because I was on such a high, because I felt amazing, because I had done an even harder thing out there in the morning, where it's like, nobody's out there. It's hot. I can quit at any point in time. Nobody's telling me to do this. I'm willing myself to do this. And at the end of it, it's like, I did it. And everything else feels easier. It reduces stress. And number 3, this parlays into number 3, it increases your confidence. When you do the hard things, it increases your confidence, because you are able to accomplish something. For me, also, like, I've really doubled down on my life goals and content. And it's been partially because I've gotten into running and functional training. Why do I say that, and how can I provide truth? So when I really got into this, I realized that, hey, I love doing the podcasts, and my content has veered more towards, podcast clips, which it's very easy to follow somebody on Instagram and only see them do podcast clips and be like, oh, they're a talking head. You don't see behind the veil. You don't know if they're doing any sort of work. Every now and again, they put up a shirtless selfie, or, they put up whatever, stuff that I do to like, hey, I'm trying to show you that I do the work, but maybe there's not any like real proof of it. So I started working with the guy, Scott, and I was just like, hey, I just need somebody like I put myself through it 6 days a week. I was like, but on Saturdays, I start my workouts typically at 7 a.m. like latest, and it's like 7 a.m. to like 8:30, 9 o'clock. Like I'm out there getting it. And I was like, however you get the content, I just need you to get it. And then let's just make it look like a vlog, but show the real of it. And the reason why I did that was because I was like, I want to show that I'm not just talking. And also, this functional training, this running, has given me so much confidence to double down on my content and to open up my life a little bit more, to not just be a talking head. I had made another Instagram that was just like, oh, just personal life stuff, because I was like scared to open up about like personal life. And then I've stopped using that since December of last year, because I was like, well, you know what? I am gaining more confidence in me and being very comfortable with who I am and opening up my life. But it's also been a reason, partially because when I do a lot of the hard stuff in the morning in the running and the functional training, everything else is just like, oh, okay, if somebody doesn't like, how I look, what I say, what I do, that's fine, because I really enjoy my life, and I'm also putting myself through hell like 6 days a week in the morning. So it definitely increases your confidence. The other thing too is you look a little bit better, and if you look good, you feel good. And I say you look better in the sense of like, my clothes just fit better now. And when my clothes fit better, I feel so much better. And that it seems like a very just like superficial thing, but it's a very real thing that a lot of people struggle with, is like, ooh, you pick your clothes options based on how you look and making sure that it gives you the most confidence that you can. And the reality is, if you are doing the things that keep you, fitter, and for me, my choice of fitness is functional training, and it's running now, is am now actually, believe it or not, wearing things that I would never typically wear, because I was like, ooh, probably 10 pounds more than I was like comfortable with holding. And now I'm able to sit back and like, it gives me a little bit more confidence to wear some things and things of that nature. So You look good, you feel good. And last thing, and I think probably the main and most important thing, is it increases your energy. Now, if you're sitting on the couch and you're not doing anything, you're not really, getting a lot of energy. But when you do something that you feel accomplished and your confidence increases, it's like taking a few shots of espresso. You feel so much better throughout the day. You get that energy boost. You get that surge of energy in the morning that carries you throughout your day. Yeah, you might crash at some point in time. I'm not saying that you won't, but what it does is you get a level of energy. And sometimes you might not have a ton of time. The reason why running and functional training also I've really dove into is because you don't really need a whole lot to actually do it, right? So Carly and I are family planning right now. We have a lot of friends who have kids and everything. And a consistent thing that I've heard is hey, obviously when you have kids, you sleep a little less. You don't have a whole lot of time to do your own thing. So that's why we got the garage set up. So, we have, kind of a foldable in-home gym. That's also why I got into running, because I'm hey, if I have a few 20, 30 minutes or whatever, I can get out and run. And we got, a few different things where we don't have to do a whole lot. We can stay around the house, get our workouts in so we can have as much energy that we possibly can. So it allows you to have increased energy. So again, why it provides so much betterment in your life is, number one, it strengthens your I'll do it muscle. Sometimes you don't want to do things, but if you make yourself do enough and just, hey, I'll do it, and that becomes consistent in the toughest physical part of your day, then someone else being hey, can you hop on this call for 15 minutes? We just need this deliverable. If you can take an eye on this, you're not going to worry about that because you had to put yourself through a little bit of hell earlier in the day that you've said yes to, that you didn't even have to do. You willed yourself to do it. It strengthens that muscle. Number two, it reduces your stress. You're the most present. And when you're the most present, stress just melts away. Number three, it increases your confidence. You do something hard, you get through it, you feel confident. You feel confident to do other things that aren't even fitness related. And number four, it increases your energy. You get that endorphin. If you're outside, you get some sunlight, you get some serotonin, you are really feeling good. Yeah, you might crash later, go to bed earlier. You'll be fine, you'll recover, but you get energy when you need it, where you need it. So I hope that you enjoyed this podcast topic. I know it was a little bit different than what I typically talk about, but I felt very compelled to talk about it because I've realized that running and functional training has drastically improved the quality of my life. And I hope that you take this, and I hope that it does for you as well. So I will see you in the next episode. Peace. For free resources, paid resources, and one-on-one coaching with me directly for fitness coaching and performance coaching using my life coding system, go to RickeyJasperII.com, and I will see you there, and we'll talk directly, and we'll make it happen.